mean, you can start recording. Obviously, you probably already did,
Oh, I've been
but
going. What's up, big dog? John up in the house. Everyone,
what
been a long time since you've been on the show, right?
it has, it's probably been half a year. I don't know. I don't keep track of anything. Uh,
Nor should you. Everything's a blur. Everything's a mess right now. So you just want to like glide through life now, right?
and it's fucking August. Like nothing should be happening, and everything is happening.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get too like wound up about it because it's just like I feel like we're being manipulated by the elites to
Oh,
squabble and to get wore out about a lot of things. But you know, anyway,
I don't know if they
um,
manipulate me. I want to squabble.
yeah. But it's
I'll
like
do that shit anyway.
it's what you're squabbling about, right?
Oh, that's
It's
true. Yeah.
it's like there's a lot of meat out there to grab onto,
Yeah.
and that's the confusing part. So I prepared something. I'm just going to call it flash topics for now to warm up the room a little
Okay.
bit. The way I got these topics was I found a chat GPT list of the most provocative things you can talk about with somebody, and then I picked some subcategories within that
Well,
to
hold on.
kind
What's
of
before we go down this list? What is your out time? Because my bad, showed up a little late. I just got out of a boxing class, which is why I'm still dressed like this. Uh, got home later than I wanted to. I know you're leaving.
um,
You're going out of town.
Oh, I'm just going to Long Beach, but you know
Oh,
what? I'll just delay it, dude. Like I want to do the conversation and uh going to Greek Fest in Long Beach
that's
with
right.
some
You
of
didn't
my
tell me that.
friends. But it's really fucking hot in LA today. I think it's over 100, so I'm not trying to get out
Is it really?
too early. I'm in the valley. It's
Oh,
it's
but
it's up
still,
there.
shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Uh,
Okay. Well, good luck up
Yeah,
there.
you're a smug beach dweller now.
I know. Down here, Orange County, baby. Well, let's see. Are your topics are they like politics based?
A few.
Okay.
It's all across the board.
Okay, because
They're
I do
very.
want to make sure we hit Chiefs.
Oh, I have Chiefs notes too.
Okay, cool. I'll let. All right, cool. This sounds fun. Um,
I want to get warmed up on some things, and then we can go right into the season. But it's your show.
no. I like this game. It's kind of rapid fire, kind of keep me on my toes. But before we get into your segments or to your topics, I do also want to mention, just for the audience, we have new merch. Link in the description. So made some
Buy
mugs that are pretty fun. I
nice.
don't know if I've shown them to you, John.
I will buy one.
Okay, go check it out. So yeah, new merch. Nobody asked for merch, but you got it. So
No,
all right,
it's YouTube. You have to do YouTube properly,
yeah.
and that
Shameless plug.
involves getting money from people.
Point to the bottom of the screen. So on and so forth. Like and subscribe.
All right, and so all right, so we're gonna do these flat. These topics are not too heavy, but we only need to spend like 3 to 5 minutes on them. Or if you have extra thoughts about it, we can go into extra time. It's just to get our brains exercised.
Okay, I like it.
All right, so the first one, Tim Waltz,
Okay,
and it's not just a monologue. We'll go back and forth about it.
sure. So is it my thoughts on Tim Walls?
Like it's kind of like your first, like just what comes to mind. Like you're not just throwing out words, but like kind of like what you've been thinking about in your mind's eye with
Initial
regards to
thoughts.
it as
Okay,
as a man, as a melanated man, and as a host and as a
yeah.
thinker. What are your kind of takes on some of these things?
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. I love Tim Walls. I was a little skeptical of him at first when he was announced, but the more I learned about the guy, the more I just like absolutely love this, like what he presents, what he represents. He's like the Bernie that we didn't like. He's Bernie, but like personable. If that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
He's someone that I his everything about him is just falling into perfect place. Like the fact that people refer to him as Coach Walls now instead of just like he's affable, he's likable, he just has it. He's someone that you want to cheer for. And on top of that, the fact that he's going up against JD Vance, which is like the anti Walls, which is on one hand you have the guy who could be the country's grandpa, the country's coach, and you got on the other hand, a guy who's basically that creepy uncle or creepy cousin, kind of just
Oh
like
yeah.
awkward in the corner of the family
Yeah,
reunion.
you don't want to get okay, who would you rather be like going to Blockbuster Video with in the 90s alone?
For those
Waltz?
who don't know what Blockbuster is, Blockbuster Video was a video rental store where people used to get out of their house, drive to it, hope that the movie that they wanted was there. 9 times out of 10, it wasn't. It was already sold out. And then you go home disappointed with a lesser pick, and then return it, within 5 days. Um, yeah, I'd go to Blockbuster with Tim Walz, man. That's of course I'd hang out with that guy. I want to sit around a campfire with Tim Walz. Like that's my whole thing.
Right.
Now the problem is obviously he's still a Democrat, which means he's only going to be so good. But as far as VP picks, I don't know if there's a better one out there.
Yeah, that's actually the first positive opinion I've ever heard you express in general, and I've
Of a
known you for a
Democrat
while. Of
for a
Democrats.
long time. Now,
So yeah.
for the haters out there, doesn't mean I'm like I'm a Democrat stan. I still don't like Kamala, but I'm also not an idiot, and I know between Kamala and Trump, one of them is going to be president, and I know who I prefer. Um, so there's that.
Yeah, I mean, I just one of the reasons I made this list was because I didn't want to like get divert. Like there's some things that are easy to talk about,
Uh,
and like, look, I don't need to tell you that I can't watch Kamala talk on television,
right.
and I'm just gonna leave it at that. And like, but it's just it is what it is. All right, so the next topic. I did like I did like um you know I I agree with you. Like I was listening to your your YouTube show with your cousin, right? Where you guys
uh,
were
oh,
talking
no, my
about
brother-in-law.
your brother-in-law, yeah. Um I mean, I thought that was pretty spot on, and it's like it was funny cuz my wife walked in the room and you guys were laughing at Kamala, and my wife was like, that's not very helpful. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm looking at it the wrong way, because it's like it's kind of like with politicians. You see you see footage of politicians looking presidential or giving big epic speeches and being like these grand leaders of humans. And it's like most of the elected leaders now are just corporate. That's it. They're corporate people and they communicate like corporate people,
Mhm.
you know? And so it's just it's not made for me, Like it's
What were we
not.
laughing about? Do you remember?
Oh, gosh, it was like what was it specifically? You know what? I don't I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, no worries.
But
That's
it,
funny. That's funny that she saw. It's just like, meh.
she walked in the room when you guys were at your saltiest.
Oh yeah,
So
I love it.
okay, so we will move on from that because I think we could talk about that for a half hour.
Mhm.
All right, and so we're veering into the religion territory.
Oh, okay, cool. One of my favorite
People
topics.
people are Christian, you're atheist,
Hmm.
people are this, people are that. People in California and in America, they're spiritual. What do you think people who are spiritual are full of shit? Or do you think that it's valid?
No, I think what's happening is there's 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 a revelation happening in the mind of a spiritual person, right? And I'm speaking from as someone that used to be self-labeled as spiritual. And what happens is being spiritual is like atheism light. Okay,
Yeah.
you're not ready to cross over. So what's happening is, there's a religious people that will say like, I believe in whatever Bible or text that we're given, because you're given your religion. It's not something you're born into. It's from your parents or whomever, right? Um, and then you try to live some sort of tangential life to whatever faith you believe in. Whether you're hardcore about it or just sort of like lukewarm on it, but you're doing it. You're doing it, and that's your religious people. What happens with the spiritual people is that they at some point started asking too many questions, started opening their eyes a little too wide to what's going on in their respective churches, and realized that even though they may be comfortable in this situation, comfortable in this religion, um, believe in some of the tenets or what have you, they're noticing there's some inconsistencies, right? Specifically with the human side of the religion, because there's for instance Christianity. There's Christianity with your relationship with God or Jesus, and then there's also Christianity with your relationship towards your church and the people within that church. So when I run into a spiritual person, generally speaking, they are saying that they believe in the spiritual side of the religion and like it for whatever reason, whatever comfort it gives them. But they're not so keen on going to church. They don't like the people that go to church. They're not trying to like make that so prominent in their life for one reason or another. Typically, it's because they've noticed that the people in their church ain't shit.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're full of shit. I think they're wanting to cling on to this thing, and we can go deeper into that too. But they're wanting to cling on to their religion while not being part of the more toxic human side of the religion, especially when it gets into politics and whatnot. So, I, hopefully, a spiritual person gets up the courage, like I did when I was 24, probably, um, to make the leap to full fledged atheism.
And I think that's good. Make the leap into full fledged atheism. That's a good T-shirt for your merch.
Make the leap to full fledged atheism, because it's funny, but like
Yeah.
I don't judge them, because I mean I remember, like, man, religion does a doozy on you, man. Like it really wraps your brain around some concepts that are scary. And like, even I couldn't even say the word atheist for, like I said, I think I said it. I became an atheist when I was 24. I didn't say it out loud until I was probably 26, and I didn't tell my family till maybe 28. Like,
Yeah.
dude, it was hard to tell them. It was kind of like, I don't mean to minimize the situation for like gays, but like it's kind of like coming out of the closet. Like, if there's anything worse in the black community than being gay, it's like being atheist. It's like it's just not something that's accepted. It's not something that's understood. It's not understood in any race, but
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, black in general, it's like it's a really bad word. And so it was just like hard to come to grips and build that courage, because it's like, oh shit, I'm an atheist. Like, if I say that, am I going to hell now? Like, you're already wrestling with these concepts that you're supposedly not even believing in anymore, but you're still in the back of your head like, shit, once I say this, like, God's going to hate me. And it's like, well, you're not supposed to believe in God, so what are you scared? This is a lot goes on with that.
Yeah, that's that yeah, that's really interesting because for at least with my background, I came from like both my parents come from my dad comes from a really like college oriented family where they're kind of Catholic, but they more read books and are skeptics and things like that and don't express a view.
Hmm.
and my mom's family is a traditional religious family, but my mom got away from it, and it didn't really. My mama is an atheist, basically,
She
but
said that.
can't like she does. She's like she thinks religion is evil now that she's got older.
Oh, well, that makes her an anti-theist.
Yeah, so what's interesting is if I express like a religious view, I get blowback the same way you might have got blowback from from saying something about atheism. Like it's really interesting, that sometimes this is just a random brain fart, but it's like even with thoughts, philosophical thoughts, the grass is greener on the other side sometimes. Like you have a negative experience with one group of people and it's enough to send you into the other camp completely.
Yeah. Did she
Um
tell you what happened with her, or you've always known her to be anti-theist?
not always. I think she was just a more cultural, her cultural background,
Spiritual.
it well, no, because she's Eastern European and everybody it's like everybody's religious there. It's
Uh,
like, so it's like you don't even question it. And so now she feels like, she can be herself, which is cool.
oh yeah.
Um, which is, it's interesting seeing that move. I don't have like a final thought on it, but it's
Well,
just
I do kind of want to add something to that. Cultural religion. So one of the things that allowed me to even become atheist is that I moved out of Missouri pretty
yeah.
young. I was 18 when I moved out of my house, basically for good. And going to college, like people underestimate the college experience. Like if you listen to a lot of, especially conservatives who are like anti college and whatever, it's not about just going and getting a major in something. It's also about just getting the fuck out of your own element and just like experiencing new people, new personalities, new thoughts, and adding to them, getting receiving some of yourself, just being challenged. So, had I stayed in Missouri, I could see myself, continuously going to church, never questioning anything. Even though I actually already was prior to leaving, but like maybe it would have been tamped down
Yeah.
before I left. But yeah, being out on my own and being pulled out of that picture, so to speak, so I can see the frame, um, if that's the right way to say it. Yeah, it allowed me to go, oh, wait a second. Like when I'm not being peppered 24/7 with like religious propaganda, like I'm able to sit back and actually think about this stuff. And that's what a lot of things.
Yeah. That's, and I know, what's interesting about Missouri, and we'll be talking about, our Chiefs pretty soon here, is that, the older you get there, you run out of options in life.
Oh,
There's not that much going on in Kansas City, unless you're into the Royals and the Chiefs, and I noticed a lot of people who stick around there, even though they're really smart, interesting people, um, start developing really bad personal problems in life, where they have problems with alcoholism or drug addiction, or
oh,
um, where it's like you stay in one place and you can live for cheap, you can own a house, you can do this, you can do that, but there's a weird, like, people are kind of like, I feel like sometimes maybe this is controversial, but it's good to leave home to get away from those things, because otherwise sometimes you get stuck in the mud and it's not beneficial to you. And a
oh,
lot of people can make it work and have really good lives just staying in their hometown, but I know a lot of like more creative people who tried to do it and they got fucked up, because
oh,
there was just like they ran out of options. It wasn't interesting, and you're kind of surrounded by, you know, kind of negative stuff. Like if you're in, I don't know, it's like, it's the heartland isn't always a positive place to be, even though you
yeah.
can get a cheap house, um, there.
Well,
Uh,
I wish everyone had the opportunity to just leave.
yeah,
You can always come back, but there's a lot of people there. There's people that I've met who have never left their home state, and I don't mean like lived anywhere, which is a separate step. I mean like some people have never even like vacationed. you know,
Oh yeah.
in a different time zone, right? So I was like, man, you got to get out. There's so much out there that if you the more worldly you are, the harder it is for the media to like take control of your mind and lie to you about what the world is like, right? Like if you've
Yeah.
seen it yourself, you're not going to be reliant on MSNBC or Fox News to like tell you what it's like. You know it already. People are always like, "Oh yeah, crime in Chicago." It's like, dude, I lived in Chicago for 6 years. I think you lived there for a minute too, right?
I grew up there. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's like every place has crime, but if you ask someone who's never been, they think it's basically, the Gaza Strip. It's just like crime and death spots. It's just like no, no, no. It's actually really dope. It's super cool out there. Yeah, of course there's crime, but it's also amazing. Same with like Los
Yeah.
Angeles. It's amazing out here.
Well, what you're looking at too is like we live in LA now. Chicago and LA, New York are mega cities that where there's many cities within the city.
Hmm.
And there is a lot of fucking problems in on the far south, far west, far east side of Chicago, where there is like people, uh, though those parts of town have been so neglected for so long, like there is like there are two economies in that city.
Yeah,
So when you see like extreme violence, sometimes it comes up to the white part of town, but a lot of times it's just in these like kind of collapsed neighborhoods like Gary, Indiana, or like Lawndale, and the city keeps. But it was worse before.
hmm,
It was always worse before because you had a lot of people in that city who had, they were living there with no way to make money and nowhere to go, just siloed in the, like it's like where, like black people could move up to Chicago from the South and be safe and be away from what they were coming from. But there, you know, it wasn't the infrastructure wasn't there to metabolize all those people. And so you had for a long time people were able to work in the steel mills and make money. And I don't know if those were union jobs. I assume they might have been. There
I'm
was yeah, there was industrial jobs, and so people were able to be middle class, especially in Gary. And then deindustrialization happened, which I think leads to really collapsed, fucked up conditions in some areas of Chicago. But the thing is, when the right wing, or when Tim Pool complains about Chicago or something, he thinks he's going to go to Marshall Fields downtown and someone's going to punch him in the back of the head and call him a cracker, you know, which is stupid. But
definitely
yeah,
snatch
there
off that beanie. That's the last thing
I
he
I
wants.
would do it, but yeah, so it's just, it's like you got to see there are problems everywhere, but it's kind of how that gets addressed. And now one thing I think, um, you know, um, gosh, this is veering wildly into politics. It's like
Always does.
the Democrats, their heart is always in the right place with helping people, but when you have big situations in Chicago where there's a lot of money available, but is it being used properly? That kind of thing. That's a valid conversation, I guess.
Mm.
But it's also just like Trump's not going to help the situation. The Republicans aren't going to help the situation. They're just going to hire more cops. Um, oh wait, the Democrats will just hire more cops too in a lot of places. But
Yeah, I was gonna say
you know,
I don't know if their heart's always in the right place, but the rhetoric typically is.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's debatable, but it's just like they know the script.
Yeah,
They know what values you're supposed to have as a Democrat. Um, and that includes like ostensibly helping people out in big cities. So
right, right.
um, and like me personally, I think that like there just need to be jobs for people. There need to be an economy. I think like I'm not an economist, but like the fact that China does all our manufacturing is so fucked up to me. when there's like, and people are investing in self-driving cars, self-driving trucks. It's
Yeah.
like, Jesus Christ. Like like there's always going to be social problems in every group. Fucking, if there aren't any jobs, if men aren't eating, there's going to be fucking crime
Mhm.
no matter what.
Yeah. But that's why they're always like, well, instead of bringing the jobs back, because the reason why it's in China, the manufacturing is in China, because some capitalist is making an extra buck off not paying for some Americans, health insurance or whatever, pension fund or whatever it is they're trying to skirt, um, by moving their labor over. So instead of rewinding that and ending, or not ending, but significantly lowering crime by giving people well-paying jobs. The other response is, well, we'll keep this wealthy guy, extremely wealthy, and we'll just build more prisons and get more cops and just lock up any poor person that acts out from being basically forgotten and shat on by the country. That's the second solution we can do. Pick one, whichever is good for you.
Yeah. And that in itself, I mean, I think that, like, are we even looking at this country in the correct way sometimes? Like, when I look at our penal system, it's it's so fucking crazy. Like, it's so vast. I feel like it's designed to break communities and to consolidate power. You're putting all these men away, and it needs reform. It's completely insane and unethical, to the point where it's like, I feel like if you zoomed out from where we are in time as Americans, and looked at us a little bit objectively, it's like concentration camps. It's bad. You don't have like mass deaths of typhus and crematories, but it's just this warehousing of people
Mm-hmm.
that both Democrats and Republicans, they're protecting that system. And I know
Yeah.
you're aware of that, you know, but it's like, sometimes you look at the big picture and you're like, there's not this isn't like the you can't even look at the ideals in a it's just like, you look at the ideals and you just laugh. You're like, this is fucking insane, you
Yeah.
know? Um and I was watching a now I'm on a tangent here, and I'm breaking my structure, and we'll get to football. But I was watching a video yesterday that was basically a chronological history, map based. I've got really into maps as an adult.
Okay.
Um, a
As one
map,
does.
yeah, like a YouTube video that broke down all of the wars between white people and Indians from the beginning of British colonialism in America to basically around the Louisiana Purchase with
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Jackson. And what it's like, kind of the stuff that we assume that we know, is it seems like, oh, there were a few Indians and eventually they were told to move and we moved them. I mean, but this was like decades of full-blown genocidal war, in which the goal of it was to push populations of people completely over the Mississippi River, where it was like, treaties would be made, tribes would be the Americans would ally with the tribes, the British, the French, everybody would be allies, everybody would fight each other together. But at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, in a mass movement similar to what Hitler wanted to do in World War II, pushing these mass populations of people over a geographic line.
Yeah.
That's so fucking dark. and it's not and it's not unusual. It's reality. But it's just like, sometimes you sit back and you're like, it's so ugly,
Yeah.
and that was all to make, and then it's just like, yeah, and of course the slave trade, and of course all this other stuff, and it's like, Jesus Christ. And all
Mm-hmm.
these people who are like, talking about maintaining the system.
Yeah.
Why?
It's just
Like
good. Well,
it's yeah,
it's sociopathic. It's like, well, it hasn't affected me poorly, so why not?
yeah. It's completely indefensible.
Yeah.
It's like basically like taking this ghoulish. It's like looking at the when you look at the past and you look at what all these people did. It's like looking at a haunted house, and it's like, okay, so the first person we have to respect is Roosevelt and Kennedy, and you know what I mean. It's like it's just like, yeah, this is, there is no victory within a system that is built on this shit,
Yeah.
you know. And
There's
so I
no.
think that's the truth of full blown communism, I guess, where it's just like the at some point the actual people need to, you know, need to do something.
Yeah. I want to go back to something you said though, is not being Americans we're unable to see, most of us at least, just how like horrific we are, and it kind of goes back to what I said about religion. Whereas like I had to move out of Missouri to allow myself to look at this from a distance, and kind of observe it from the outside. And it's almost like the same way I had to move out of Missouri to see religion for what it was. If more Americans were able to like visit other countries to see how America is by comparison, like one of the big stories that came out of the Olympics was how American athletes were, they get injured out there doing their events, and they were going to hospitals for free. And it was like, oh yeah, I like sprained my ankle or whatever, or broke something or what have you. One of the big time, I can't remember her name, but I think she was a track star. She was like, yeah, I went and got like a pap smear, and it was 100% free. It was amazing. And it's like all these people coming out
Yeah.
from Europe are like, what are we doing over here? Like, why is it not the same over here? And that's the thing you need, becoming more worldly. Like, I feel like a lot of, if all these anti Medicare for all people, because they're so afraid of like communism or socialism, if they saw it in action in a European country, they would go, oh, well, it's like the exact same in Europe
Right.
that it is here, except for these people have actual health care and they're not going into debt over untimely sickness. Like, that makes all the sense in the world. And also, this communism hasn't turned into some fascist dictatorship.
Yeah. And also too, like there's such a huge difference between radical communism and just a competent government that provides some services.
Of course. But if you watch mainstream media, they're not going to explain that difference to you. And that's what I mean. If you don't know the difference, they can tell you what radical means and who's radical, and you're not going to be none the wiser because you've never seen anything outside of your homeland, your home state.
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree. Um, one thing. Anyway, I'll save that. I'll put a pin in it and let's talk about
Okay.
some football now. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, we didn't do it quite rapid fire, but it's like I think we got in there and we
I like the concept. Next time you're on, we're going to do more rapid fire uh, questionnaires.
yeah, yeah, definitely. All right. So Chiefs.
Okay. Before we
Um
get started, another shameless plug: new merch. Check out the link in the description. Buy a mug. They're funny and fun. Okay, go ahead. What's up with the Chiefs?
what's up with the Chiefs? I mean, all right. So one thing that we're really healthy, like defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of real investment to protect Patrick,
Yeah, as you should.
uh, as we should. Um, but how are you feeling? Are we fast enough?
Okay, so first off, have you watched any of the preseason games?
No, I have not. So I'm gonna leave it to you to fill it in because
Okay.
yeah,
It's hard to really get handle what's going on because Andy Reid is a wily veteran. He's been
Yep.
running teams since I was in diapers, right? So there wasn't much to be seen. There were some flashes from players, and here and there in the preseason, but it was enough to give some excitement. Starting with the offense, okay. Um, Kelsey looks healthy and ready to rock. Okay, whatever Taylor Swift's doing, keep it up. Happy Kelsey is a healthy Kelsey.
Yeah.
So he's going to go out there and perform for our de facto queen, Taylor Swift. Uh, Patrick Mahomes looks sharper than ever, which is scary. He just looks like he's dialed in. Again, they didn't show much in preseason, but I don't. It wasn't because there's a lack of talent or execution necessarily. It's just that he was only in for a few series and they pulled him, which I had never seen
Sure.
before. They yanked him out pretty quick. So they must have liked what they've seen from him. But he seems quicker on his decision making. And on top of that, our rebuilt wide receiver room looks like it's going to be a problem for the NFL. I mean, we got first off Marquise Brown, who's injured, going to be injured for the next couple weeks, I think. So he's not going to be there opening night, unfortunately. But this is a guy that runs a 4.3, former first round pick, super talented. Had some ups and downs with mid lane quarterbacks, but now he's with the future goat Patrick Mahomes.
Who was he with
Um,
last year?
Last year, I believe he was with Arizona,
Okay.
and I want to say Kyler Murray was in. I don't remember if he was hurt last year, but Kyler Murray isn't Mahomes, right?
Sure.
So and that Cardinals team was mostly shit. So yeah, so we got rebuilt wide receiver room, Marquise Brown. Um, we got Rashee Rice, that that
The
Tokyo drifting, fast and furious
bad
motherfucker.
boy.
Doesn't
Dude,
look like he's gonna be suspended this year, so he'll be there.
no.
Second year was already a stud. He's back for an encore. And then we got my man Xavier Worthy, fastest man to ever run in the combine, 4.22 40, or was it 4.21? Either way, broke the record. And they didn't give him much action, but he had glimpses, and it looked like he's ready to rock. So you got these guys out here plus Kelsey. Dude, it's going to be an issue for the NFL, and that's not even talking about Pacheco and Carson Steele, who's
Yeah.
been a revelation in preseason too. So I'm ready. What do you think about that?
Um, no, I'm excited to hear because but it's like when I was going over the players and just looking at, we still have Chris Brown, we still, it's like we just
Chris
signed
Jones.
Humphrey, or yeah, sorry, what did I Chris Jones. Uh we have anyway, everyone looks good on that side of things. Do you think anyone is going to do you think Sky Moore is going to deliver a little bit more this year?
I like Sky. I've had high hopes for him. Um, I just don't think he's going to do it. Number one, he just doesn't seem to have that dog in him.
No, he doesn't have the star power, or
Yeah,
like, yeah, the energy's not there.
he's got the skill, but it's almost like he gets out there and turns into a goofy. Like
Yeah.
it's like he'll go out there, he's fast, he can he's an athlete. He can do the moves. Okay, but for some reason it's like when the lights turn on, there's my old football coach. He'd always say that there's certain people out there that practice well and play well. There's certain people out there that practice poorly and play well when the lights come on, right? And there's people out there that practice well and play poorly. Did I say that? Sorry, I can't remember. Yeah. Either way, yeah. So he seems like a guy that probably does all the right things in practice, and knows his spot and can get some rhythm, in practice. But once the lights come on Sunday or Monday or whatever night they're playing, he just like disappears. It's like he gets nervous or he just I don't know. He just doesn't put it
Right.
together. So yeah,
It
I don't
it
think it's gonna
it
happen.
it's like you really do need like nerves of steel out there because it's not just the sport, it's the whole sensory experience
Mm-hmm. It's a
in a way.
performance.
It's a performance, exactly. And so like um yeah, anyway, I get that. Um
For the record, I was always someone that practiced poorly, but I was always good under the lights.
nice. What position did they have you in usually?
Linebacker. I wasn't
Linebacker,
very good
okay.
to be honest with you, but I was better on game day than I was during practice.
Yeah, yeah, you're not that big a guy either, like,
No, no.
um I'm trying to think if there's any Chiefs related issues I mean, it's just I'm ready. That's it.
Yeah,
I had the same thing to say last year. Um and it's always like we look, it's like we look really good, and it's going to be interesting to see where, because it's like you could plan as much stuff as you want, but in a war, everything gets decided by the first shot. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah.
just it's always how it happens on game day, and that's why I watch.
It's that Mike Tyson famous quote: "Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face." Right. So
Exactly.
go out there, do your thing. Now, luckily, the Chiefs have been the puncher, which seems like the last 7 years. I don't know. It's been like a whole lifetime where we've just been so dominant in the league. But we'll say, just so we don't forget about the defense and special teams. Defense looks like it may take a step back. We have our defensive line, which is going to be solid per usual, anchored by Chris Jones, the man. Our linebacking crew took a hit with losing Willie Gay, but I think Drew Tranquil and Nick Bolton are solid in there. And on top of that, I think Leo Chanel is going to be solid in a bigger role. That guy's a monster. He's like 6'2", 255, solid muscle. I think he runs a 4.4 40 or something like that. So he's like just an athlete. And I think the more they unleash him, the more comfortable he gets, the more of a wrecking ball he's going to be out there. But the problem comes where we have a pretty solid defensive backfield. We have solid safeties. We have Trent McDuffie on the corner.
Yep. Yeah.
Normally, I mean, look, it's an NFL team, professional. Like you're not going to have studs everywhere. Two safeties and a steal in the draft with I think his name is Jaden Hicks. They're going to be solid over there in the safety department. Trent McDuffie's going to do his thing, but the problem is we don't know what's going to happen with our second corner because we lost Snead in the offseason.
Yeah.
Snead, who didn't allow a touchdown all regular season. All of a sudden, now we have this,
he
this
he took
gaping hole.
everything personally.
Yeah, that man's trying to get paid, and I'm not mad at him. Dude, his backstory is crazy, man. He's getting like grew up in like gang, like torn Louisiana, lost a brother and sister to gang violence and shit, and like he's making all these millions somehow. He was a fourth round pick, kept the kept this positive attitude, worked his way up, and now he's crushing it, man. I couldn't be more proud of the guy. But now we have a gaping hole that's I'm not sure it's going to get fixed. So hopefully, in Spags we trust, he figures out a way to
Yeah.
cover up that hole, and then we keep it rolling. But other than that, we got Harrison Butker. As long as he keep his mouth shut, doing his
He
thing,
won't.
we're good. He
He
won't.
won't.
What is with this guy? Fucking Catholics, man. Anyway,
Well, it's not just it's like kind of this newer like tradcath thing where it's like I feel like in
Tradcat.
our yeah, like where it's like in at least when I was younger, like if you grew up Catholic, you were usually a little skeptical about it. You were like, yeah, I'm Catholic, I still go to church, but whatever, it's not everything. But you have a lot of these people like Michael Knowles or Harrison Butker who are like they wear fucking sweaters all the time,
Yeah.
and it's like what the fuck, it's like you aren't Jesus. It's like you guys can like you don't you're like these down the line fascist maniacs, and and I have to root for this guy all year.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's, and that's just, I mean, it's also like, I mean, watching the NFL in general is like, it's not ideologically a pure activity.
right.
Watching people get injured and permanently maimed for fun. But we live with this hypocrisy, and we'll move forward.
Can we talk about Harrison Butker for a second?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. The amount of arguments I got in about that guy this past summer is like unreal. And it's not listen, I argue with people all the time. I don't it's not that we disagree on whether or not what he said was good or bad. There's a disagreement on what he actually said. Like there's people disagreeing with the reality of what he was saying because the constant position of the pro Harrison Butker side is that what's the problem? He was just, a Catholic guy talking to Catholic students about, Catholic beliefs. And, he didn't say anything hateful. He just says, like, yeah, you should I love my wife and I think it's great that she's a homemaker. And it's like, listen, if that was all he said, that'd be fine. I would think it was
Right.
stupid, but that'd be fine. But that's not all he said. He said a lot of other stuff, which were um, anti-trans, and he also caked a couple of his comments that were basically anti-Semitic and anti-black. And I
Oh,
don't
I
know
haven't
if
heard those yet.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can look up some of the quotes, but he was like, you know, oh, you can't even talk about like who killed Jesus, which is first off, yes, you can. You're absolutely allowed to like
There's a whole book about it.
yeah, right. And like a whole deference to that specific religion. That's the other thing that's so funny. It's like they act like they're this like downtrodden minority when you live in a country that's like 90%, 99% spiritual, back to spiritual, but like religious. And I want to say upwards of 70 to 75% Christian or Christian denomination. Stop acting like you're like oppressed here. So anyway, yeah, you can talk about it, but the reason people don't you have to talk about it a certain way because too many people say things like, "Oh, the Jews killed Jesus," as in like modern day. You need to hate Jewish people because they killed Jesus. Like
Like
it
Mel
gets too
Brooks
weird too
killed
fast.
Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all there is to it. It's just a little nuance. Like, hey, just say, yeah, this is the story. These people killed in the book. You know, uh, just don't be a dumbass about it. But anyway, so he said a bunch of different shit talking about trans people. Obviously, he said something about it being like a toxic ideology, which is like ignorant beyond ignorant, and just like all sorts of stuff. So anyway, people aren't recognizing that he said some fucked up shit about a lot of people, and things that you could just tell he just watches too much Fox News.
Yeah, no, or like, I mean, no, you could tell the stuff he was talking about he got from Matt Walsh.
Right.
Like, I mean, let's be real here, it's just like a lot of these people weren't thinking about this crap before it became propagandized by by these media companies. And it'll be interesting, is Butker going to go on Tucker?
Oh,
Probably,
of
I don't
course.
know.
Yeah. I want to
Um
say, hasn't he already been on Daily Wire?
I don't know. It seems like a shoe-in, because I'm surprised he doesn't have his own show
Oh yeah, he
yet.
definitely needs a podcast over there after Ted Cruz and fucking uh, Michael Knowles.
Right, like, and I'm not gonna say that those guys are weird, but they're like kind of like, yeah, it's like, who do
It's
you
the
want
prime
to be
day
in a
though.
car with by yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think you can be honest. They're kind of weird, and like it's funny because we know these people, like know these
Yeah.
people. Michael, of course. I don't really know Matt except for the couple of times we've had him in office. He's that guy's fucking weird. At some point, if I ever get a higher profile, I'm gonna just like air that guy out. But anyway,
Oh,
uh,
it shouldn't be difficult. I mean, the thing is, it's just like anytime you have a situation where a guy who wants to be the straightest guy in the world is like dyeing his beard to look more young and virile. Um, like, I mean, it's like all those guys, all those Daily Wire guys were so narcissistic about their appearance. They'd have fucking barbers, makeup artists in there every day. Like they're like used car salesmen.
Yeah.
And Harrison Butker fits right in. He'll
You're the
sit.
one that told me about. Look the way he dresses.
Yeah, no, I mean it's just like he looks like he likes to sit in front of fireplaces, for a living. And like
For a living.
and it's so fake. Like they want to be so traditional, but I guarantee they're cranking their hog to weird stuff,
Yeah.
you know?
They want to
Like
cosplay as their dads, but like haven't really earned it because like you haven't been through like a world war.
Yeah, that's right. Go I mean, it's like anyway, I'm not gonna doom like this is the thing. It's like Butker's gonna start start blowing it, and this conversation will be to blame for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, it's like I don't know. It's just as Californians, I think we're both on the same page. But what was really interesting, I mean, there's the trad cath subculture out here in California, and I remember people, meeting people who really respected Mel Gibson.
Oh my gosh. Because of the
And
Passion of the Christ.
not just that, but just like his whole legacy. Like the guy has like they would, it's like a big thing to be able to go to his private church on his property. And I'm sure that's still the case.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't fuck with that. It's like I don't really it's like I have a religion. I'm Christian Orthodox like through my family,
Uh,
and like I am superstitious. I can't help it. But I feel like if I just feel like I'm gonna sin every day. I'm gonna do bad things. I'm a fuck up. I'm stupid. Whatever. But you resolve it through, if you believe it, you resolve it through confession. You say, "Dear God," or "I pray to God. I hope make me a better person. Forgive me, forgive me." You
yeah.
know, um, but they're acting like they're the saints. They're acting like infallible, that they're better than the rest of us, but they're really, God knows what's in their search history.
Oh God. It's bad, I'm sure. You cannot tell me Matt Walsh doesn't have the most just like fucked up. Like it's funny. I remember, God, so you know about Jesse Lee Peterson, right?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I have to admit, I've watched montages of him yelling, calling people beta males and laughing.
Beta. Are you a beta male? Yeah, the guy. It's that guy's a trip. But anyway, um, between like the most vile people are always they always have the worst shit in their searches, and like him or like it's not the worst. They just like caught him like he's actually gay, I guess. Um,
Sure.
but then you got like all these like preachers, like televangelists who just have all this fucked up shit in their search history. Uh, I think they caught Alex Jones one time. They saw his phone. He was like looking at trans porn. Um, just like
Which
some
is,
people.
yeah, I mean, which that's what it's. Um. Anyway, that was another one of my topics to cover on a later episode. Not necessarily what celebrities, but like the idea of porn category bingo.
Oh, okay.
Where like it's just like sometimes like anyway like the categories and what people go to, because they're designed to bait us into looking at things that we're like, oh, what the fuck, oh, shoplifter punishment, that's horrible, but what does this look like?
What's it? Rule 34? Like, if it
Yeah.
exists in real life, there's a porn about it.
Well, you know what, I got to how are we on time?
We're creeping up on an hour, so if you want to wrap, we can wrap.
Okay, let's do a quick one, a quick
Okay.
topic, and close it out. Um, we both think about this in the long run, 30, 40 years from now, 50, 60. What do you think is going to kill you?
It's gonna kill me.
Yeah. What do
Oh
you
wow.
assume that you are going to perish of?
How am I gonna die? Okay. Well, I have a couple of dark thoughts. So this is a dark topic. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So my family has a history, or at least my parents. My dad died of Parkinson's, which
Oh,
I don't know,
yeah.
I don't know if you die of Parkinson's. I'm kind of,
It's cumulative, probably.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like when people keep saying like, "Oh, you died of," with this, I'm like, I don't know if it kills you per se, um, but he had by the time he passed, he was like probably 80 pounds, soaking wet, non-mobile, I think dying, part of dying is just like losing the will. And that might be a little pseudosciency, but I think health, and I think you can die from like a bad demeanor too. And he was basically done. He's a guy that you saw his body basically disintegrate from under him
Yeah.
and not be able to live a quality of life that is fit to even be lived. So, he passed at the age of 68. Okay. Uh, so there's Parkinson's that I'm on the watch for. And then my mom passed from cancer and this past April. Uh, and so, and her mom passed from cancer too. She had pancreatic cancer. My mom had a series of like weird blood cancers. So, now I'm on a watch for cancers.
Yeah.
So, and she died at 70. So, I'm thinking I could probably get to 75 or 80, and I'm going to go with cardiac arrest. With that said,
Um, all right. That's valid. I yeah, I think it'll, like if I go long enough, it'll be something like, you know, like cancer or heart failure, the obvious things just based on long health. But it's like sometimes being a city person, I wonder like what environmental factors am I not seeing? Like
oh,
we all lived in LA with a high amount of pollution for a while,
yeah, yeah,
Like I feel like there's just going to be like an environmental based toxin that just
interesting.
I'll go to the doctor like, doc, I've been coughing up blue frogs, and it'll be like, yeah,
Mhm.
you lived near a toxic waste site, and you're fucked.
Yeah,
um
gosh, ugh. Now there's a reason to move back to Missouri. That's it. Beautiful, beautiful state, Kansas City. Didn't seem,
it's beautiful.
yeah, didn't seem like there's a lot of pollution. Um, Now here's the thing though, because we are talking 30 years in the future. We're thinking with our 2024 mind, like what kind of medicine and treatments are going to be available 30 years from now? Because I just saw a story about how they basically reverse the aging on a dog.
Right.
So, are we going to have ways to repair our body? Are we going to finally get to a place where we utilize the incredible power of stem cells? And if you get cancer, you just say, "Oh, okay, well we'll just eat that out and get you a new organ, or maybe just take the tumor out and rebuild it with stem cells. Like you're fine." Like, what do we do? Are we hopefully in my future world? Yeah, that's what we do.
I mean, that's really optimistic, and I think there will be extreme medical breakthroughs. um I feel like there probably already are, but it's going to come down to how they can get to the most people. Is medicine going to get perfected for the elite, and
Yeah.
then everybody else just gets the same diseases?
Hmm.
um that's kind of what I wonder about, because I feel like I'm going to get really old to the point where I've just had a normal life of someone who was born in 1979, and then I'll be 70, and then they'll be like, "Well, we cured this, that, and the other thing," and
Yeah.
they'll be like, "We can't reverse your age, but all these other fuckers, they're gonna stay young for 400 years,
Yeah,
you know,
that
or
would be it,
something."
right? The
Like,
fucking the
but
cutoff
I'm
line is right there.
and so I'm like a weird, like rare old guy that's just like at the bar.
Yeah, healthy as an ox, though.
Healthy as, yeah. But I'll take it, you know, because I think like if you live for hundreds of years, even though it, you know, it's like maybe you can make something good of it. Like all your friends will be dead. You
Yeah,
know, like civilization will change so much to the point where like young people are throwing shit at you all the time, or you know what I mean? Like I don't think it'd be the best thing.
yeah.
Or you're just like, or your best years are you're like, you know, you live to 90 and you're healthy, but like the last 200 years of your life you're living in a basket, you know, like with two eyes poking out, you know, I
Yeah,
don't know,
just a floating brain.
just a
Speaking of
floating.
though, that's another factor into like how long I want to live. It's like my grandmother is like 94 now, and like kicking strong, right? And my great grandmother lived to 105.
That's
So
great.
yeah, and but she was like deaf and blind by the time she died, but she was, she was up. But so I feel like I got a lot of like I have a big scale of when I could go and how. Um,
Yeah.
so we'll see with that.
Well, on that note, um do you have everything you need?
Yeah, I think we're good. Good show. No one asked for this.
Nobody asked for this.
Uh,
Nobody asked for my opinion.
no one
This
asked
is
for your opinion.
that's why I love coming on here,
Uh huh.
because I go out in the world. Nobody, you know,
No one
who
asked.
wants my opinion?
No
Nobody.
one wanted you to ask about death and put that existential crisis in their heads. No one asked for
Hey,
that.
we're adult men, and it's good
Yeah.
to know these things. This is a men's health podcast.
Right. Right. All right, man. Well, you enjoy the beach. I'm gonna get showered up and get some food finally.
Hell
Um,
yeah! All right. Let
yeah.
me know if you're in town next weekend. I know we talked about hanging,
Oh,
but
yeah. I probably will be in town. Shit, got a lot going on.
oh,
I'll
don't
be in.
worry about it. Let's just do Korean barbecue. I want to get Dustin in. You know, uh,
Okay.
we'll figure it out. Uh, it's yeah, September is going to be busy for me too. So,
Yeah. All right.
all
So,
right,
all
man.
right.
Talk
Have
to you
fun out
soon.
there.
All right,
Later.
bye bye.